Welcome to the Autospeed Podcast, home of stock car and banger racing in the southwest.
Driver, start your engine.
Love the vans.
Brilliant!
Warm in here, I can see why you don't seem so keen to get off home.
A lot of people would just probably hear 2 or 3 words and switch it off anyway.
Terrific!
First time doing anything like that.
As easy as that.
I didn't stutter anywhere, did I? I do waffle on a bit though, don't I?
Welcome to the Autospeed Podcast. I'm Crispen Rosevear. For many of us within the Autospeed network, all roads are about to lead to Skegness. The weekend of the 20th and 21st of May will feature Autospeed on Tour 2, as we depart from our traditional West Country base and relocate on the Fun Coast in Lincolnshire at Skegness Raceway. Stock car royalty Rob Speake has transformed the stadium with a succession of upgrades and improvements, and Autospeed are delighted to be offered the chance to stage another 2-day event at the venue referred to with such affection as Skeg Vegas. It's a long trek to Skegness for the many drivers travelling from Scotland, and even further again for those heading there from the southwest of England. Amongst them will be a Cornish-based stock rod driver, who has nothing but fond memories of his visit there last summer. So let's hear a little bit more about that trip and the intriguing tale of how an impulse buy led to another driver joining the stock rod ranks, as we meet Simon Bassett. Welcome, Simon.
Yeah, hello, Crispen. Yeah.
Indeed. So with your racing career, you've had bangers, Brisker Formula 2 stock cars, stock rods. Can you tell us a little bit about each of the classes you've raced in and how they compare and contrast?
Yeah, well, started off with Autospeed. I raced a few classes in the past, like outlaw tracks when St Colin was running, when they had their own independent formulas, where I've done the non-contact minis and that, like outlaw stock cars, if you like. Which we had some quite good success there. Then made the leap to Brisker F2 when I was 20 years old. It got to a point where we was at the track and we decided to spend a bit of money to be on the pace. And me and Dad sat down and we said, look, we're going to start spending some money. Why don't we do the big one? Let's forget the outlaw stuff. Let's go for the main show, if you like.
Yeah.
So we brought a Formula 2 stock car off Darren Wade. Done that for a few years. Never done that well. A lot of it was I was very young, didn't have a great job, didn't have a great income behind me. I was a young lad, wanted to race Formula 2, wanted to go and get drunk, wanted to have nice clothes, nice shoes, so I didn't really have a lot of money behind me to get to,
to do everything.
Yeah, to get to it. But we done what we could. Dad helped me support me. We'd done a little bit, got to blue grade and won a few races and got a few grade awards and made most of the finals, so it was good. So then I quit that in 2012 because me and Leanne was together and we said let's want to buy a house, want to have a family. So yeah, racing stopped for a fair few years where I built a banger for our wedding, and then the banger, if you like, because we met through racing.
Okay.
I wanted it at our wedding as the feature park. That's where we come from. SJ Science came down. Me and my cousin Matt Westway built it. Looked great. And then I raced it in a team meeting and then done a few meetings after that from the team meeting.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that story.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's how we've done it. So, Formula 2 is like, that's what I would love to do again. And realistically, I just haven't got the time to be doing it with a young family and stuff. But yeah, I wanted a feature car at my wedding and I couldn't spend 10 grand on Formula 2 to park there for a day. So we built a banger and had it there. And we got to the wedding reception and we drove it in and Leanne was sat on the bonnet and no one knew about it. We hid it away and
cool.
Yeah, it came in. Yeah, it was really good.
Some entrance.
Yeah, it's nice. So then we carried on. I did a few banging meetings, but nothing special. And then I quit. Well, I stopped again for a few years, and I got the itch again, and
wanted to race something.
Need to race something, yeah. So I built another banger, and built the banger. Spent loads of money, because I had to start from scratch again to build a banger.
Get all your kit back together.
Yeah, get all the kits. I literally gave everything away, sold it all. Built it, and then got the itch for. I'd done a few meetings, and the thing about the rookie banks, like the bangers, they're you've got two ends of the spectrum. You've got the people trying to get and have a crash, which fine, and the people like, you know, your Barry Staples, your Matt Brewers, who put a lot of time and effort into their cars and you're very fast and want to win. And I want to be at the higher end.
Yeah.
And I was racing this. I had a Honda Civic, which was normally quite quick. Had the good gearbox, had the right engine, I believed, had it on injection. Got that out to build me a racing loom and all this sort of stuff. And I was nowhere near them. And I thought, if I'm going to spend some money again, I want to be racing properly, you know.
Yeah. So
I remember I was down Coverack in my caravan on holiday, and I was in the field walking the dog actually, and I seen this post on the RSC stock page saying, it's called Gavin Staker had a car for sale.
Right.
And I didn't go through it with anybody, I didn't tell Leanne, it was just a spare moment thought. And this was on like the Wednesday, and we left on the Saturday. And I said, I'm doing it, I'm going to buy one. So I messaged him, and he said, give me your number, and I phoned him, and you know, I was in the rain, walking the dog, speaking to him about it. And I said, yep, I'll come and see you. So I came back, spoke to Leanne, pretended that I'd been thinking about it for a little while, but I hadn't. We left the holiday a day early to come home, so I could leave Saturday morning to go pick up the car. And then I believe I rang you or text you and say, swap my banger booking to the Stockwell booking. And then me and Del Moon worked all night on the Saturday, because I got back at 3 o'clock in the summer.
Where did you have to, how far did you have to go?
It was Oxford.
Oh, right.
It was a Speedway, yeah. I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, left about 10, and in the summer, you know, going past through Bristol,
good luck.
Traffic was absolutely horrible. But we managed to, come back. I rang Dale, what are you doing tonight? Yeah. Dale said, I'll come up. We had to adjust the seat because he was quite a bit shorter than me, so I had to go lower the seat, the steering, so I could race it. Chucked it together, went out racing the next day, and that was the Adam Isanac meeting. We was absolutely rubbish. Start from the back. I think I didn't score a point, but it was great.
It was a real impulse buy, then.
Really impulse buy, because you know, stock rods in the past, they've never had a banner. There always been the burger class, haven't they, with the burger, Ross the burger. And I've taken the mick out of people. You know, this is never a stock rod, you know, and this sort of thing. And honestly, I strongly believe that they are as good as a Formula 2 to race. Like, they're fast, they handle really well. You've got a good bunch of drivers out there now. And I think you can even talk to someone like Chris McCullough now, who's come into it. Speaking to him, talking to him, he's relatively surprised how, you know, again, this is the laughing class from the past.
Yes.
And actually, this is really good. Do you know?
I think that I don't think you're giving away any secrets there that they used to be very much a derided class, but I know that if we rewind back to the COVID year of 2020, we always knew as a promotion that the World Championship was coming. And in 2020, when we had the crazy situation of no racing for several months, and then we got out of that period to, because of the planning conditions at Smeathop then allowed us to race as often as we did in 2020 and 2021, when we were... It was almost a case of just, look a month ahead, crumbs, we've got some more fixtures, what are we going to run? And it was a two-way street between us as a promotion saying, there's plenty of stock rods, and the stock rods coming back and going, yeah, there's plenty of us. And it just built from there. And I think that in the build-up to the World Championship last year, being at St Day, that build-up started 2019, 2020. We knew it was on the horizon. We'd run the Stock Rod World Championship before in 2018 at Cowdenbeath, and the next time we wanted to run it in the Southwest, and we just wanted to build numbers. And I think that as a promotion, we put a little bit of TLC into the formula, and the formula responded. And now it's a class which it still has some doubters because it's non-contact racing. That's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
But I think that the racing is close, the racing is competitive. And even when it goes wrong, even when drivers are a little bit out of order, you can't help but be edge of your seat. It is exciting. It's not dull. And I think that I don't know what used to make it so dull, whether it was low numbers, but it isn't dull anymore. Not always for the right reasons, but I think when you see a queue of cars the car at the front isn't perhaps as quick as some of the others, and it's starting to queue cars up behind, and then someone does, take it in their hands to try and go on the outside, it suddenly becomes exciting and it's worth watching.
It's a real racecraft to get to the front, because you have to always be looking ahead.
Yes.
Because you get behind one slow car and you're boxed in,
Yes.
now going out, running outside of you. And I've really struggled with that when I was going back through to blue to red. I think I'm off, and then I'll get caught. I'll be up like 6th place, and then 2 laps, I'm down to like 12th, 13th place, and then you've got to start again, So, yeah.
It must be a lot to do with momentum.
Yes.
Momentum and rhythm. If you can get a bit of rhythm and into your lap after lap and momentum and whatever, because I'm often getting asked, oh, why are they always 20 laps? You've got to give the drivers some kind of a hope.
Yeah, and even then we could probably do a 30, because you have to. I remember Callum said to me, he said, you need to, when you get behind people, you need to commit early. He goes, you don't get behind them, then that's what we're going to do. You need to commit. If you're going outside, you're going outside. If you're going inside, you're going inside. And then likewise, you have to, think 2 or 3 cars in front of you. Right, he's a little bit quicker, but there's a slower one, 2 or 3 cars in front who are going to box them up in a second, and it could kind of mean like back off a bit backwards, and he hits them. Right, he's there, round outside of them.
Yeah.
There's
interesting actually that you mentioned Chris McCuller, because Chris isn't here to defend himself, and I hope if he listens, you'll see this is constructive criticism. I think that he's yet to master that element of what you've just described, of looking, because he's so new into it, he doesn't know all the people he's racing with, and I'm sure you're dead right that you need to look ahead and think, okay, over the next 2 or 3 laps, I can see what's going to happen. So I need to be inside or outside. Otherwise, I'm going to get boxed in by this. And I think if Chris sticks at it, that will come.
Yeah.
But whilst Chris can drive, and whilst Chris has some good kit and whatever, learning who he's racing with and learning that little bit of track craft of looking ahead as to how things are going to evolve and develop is going to be key.
Yeah, and again, I'm slowly learning it now. Going through the back. People like Callum and Justin, like Justin Walsh, people like that, he's been forever in the stock rods. They've got this, where practice we're bumper to bumper, but race they just like Reece Langdon, they just go the extra gear, because they just read the traffic so well.
Yeah,
they'll take 2 laps to get round 3 cars. I'll take 5, and in those 3 laps, they've already pulled another 10 cars. They are just electric, So yeah, it's a lot of racecraft, and it has definitely surprised me.
I'm really heartened by the fact that you're enjoying it as much as you are. I'm glad you're not saying, oh, I'm pining for doing a Formula 2 and oh, this is, I wish. I think it's great. I think it's great that you've found something, landed in it, and really immersed yourself in it. I think it's great.
Yeah, Formula 2, I've had a great time racing it. I feel in the stock was I can race to my potential and my budget, and still do my family life. Formula 2, like when I was doing it, I was on the cusp of the RCE era just starting, where if you started 2009, I had a HED off Darren Wade, and then at the end of the year we upgraded to an Alan Kikodi Randall off Gary Coffey. We brought it off, which was a big upgrade. We had dials for the brakes, and it was absolutely unreal. But then the RC Formula, the RC car came in, and it was absolutely dominate. And when I look at it now, and like Adam Pearce said in his last podcast, everyone's got good equipment now. There's no bad car out there. But for me, stock rods, it's enjoyable. I race them once a month, so I'm not racing every week, but I'm racing regular. We've got 4 this month, because we've got 2 days at Skegness coming up.
Yep.
So I'm racing regular. Really enjoy it. Got great people I race with.
It's good. I think you're hitting upon something there as well. That the number of meetings, a season can be as if you commit yourself to the meetings at St Day and Smith, that's fine. That will give you a pretty okay season. Step a little bit further afield, do the meeting at Bristol. There's an extra. Make the trip to Skegness. That's really great. You want to go crazy and you want to go to Scotland and Northern Ireland. There's options as well. So to race in the stock rod class, you can set your own agenda with how often you do race.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're never going to be. It's not going to be on. If it's on burnout, it's going to be on your terms. It's not like you have to do 25, 30 meetings. No.
No, and you can become a good blue, red top by doing what racing once a month. Do you know? So it's for me and my personal circumstances. Stock rod is the right class for me, and I do, and hand on heart, I am really, really enjoying it, and I can't wait to race it. I spend a lot of time doing preparation on the car. Luckily, Leanne lets me do all that. To try and provide a car that can win a race.
Yeah.
Okay.
You touched on Skegness, and obviously that's coming up at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were symptomatic of so many that spoke to me after last year's 2 days at Skegness that highlighted, firstly, almost a thrill of being able to race Skegness, because it is a very popular venue, and I would imagine it's a fairly, I'm not saying any track's easy, but it's not a crazy way out track such as Sunday, and it's not that in the same way that Sunday is oddball because of its shape. Cowdenbeath is a little bit oddball because of it being around the football pitch. Those are difficult and unusual tracks. Skegness is a fairly regular track, and but still everyone wants to race there. A lot of people want to race there. And the other part that you touched upon was that it gave a great social occasion to meet other drivers you don't normally race with, to just go away for a few days, to go to somewhere which, I'd say Skegness is another typical British old-fashioned seaside town, whereby it's great for a few days. I don't know that you'd want to be there for a fortnight.
Exactly that. Yeah. I remember I spoke to you after the meeting and said, racing aside, racing was great. We really enjoyed it. As a family, we had a great time.
Yes.
We went to Skegness. We got on a Friday. We went into the town. We went on the arcades and had an ice cream and walk along the beach, and came back. We had fish and chips and a pint in the pub. And then we obviously raced, and all the drivers got together. We all met up and had a beer. And on the Sunday night, Chris Woods was absolutely amazing on the karaoke. He is an amazing singer. It was like, who's this guy? He races a starlet, and he's like, absolutely, like the whole place is erupting because Chris Woods is on the microphone. We had a great time, and there was like one time where we went to Chris Woods where he went off for a bit and unhooked his car, and I think it was Callum and Chris Drake, maybe, I'm not sure. Moved the stock rod around to another caravan, so he came back and thought, where's my stock rod gone? Someone's nicked it. But that's just having a good lot of banter and
so some hijinks and a few practical jokes and whatever.
But I just remember going to Skegness, and I drove on, because we parked up, and it was because where we parked was quite far away from the track, if you like. We had to walk in through the entrance. And I jumped in my car, and first practice was going out, so I drove out and never seen the track before. I've always seen it on YouTube. I've never actually been there before until last time. And I got through the pit gate, and it was the best weekend of the year for weather. And I remember, and I just went, wow. You see the Skate Vegas sign out the front, from the track, and you see all the, people sat around, and I thought, this is amazing, to have the chance to race here in a stock rod, because I've never been there before.
Yes.
And I was like, this is cool, Well,
when I mentioned the feedback from drivers, I can, I don't want to embarrass them by naming them or whatever, but I even had Scottish drivers coming and saying thank you for the opportunity of racing at Skegness, because with stock rods not racing at Skegness, the opportunity to go and race there didn't exist.
Right.
And so, we as a promotion are thankful to Rob Speak and his team at Skegness. And it was great to get feedback that people recognised, even though it wasn't the most successful of weekends in terms of numbers of people and whatever, there was still a value to doing it, and it brought the two areas, the southwest of England, and it brought the Scottish drivers, brought them all together, created some friendships, created some rivalries, and just set the tone for coming back the following month when the World Championship was at Sunday. So
exactly that.
It played an important part in making making a weekend for everyone to go and race and enjoy it.
It was a really hard out of our year last year. We see that get on the fixture list this year. We was no way gonna miss it. If it was Skegness or Nuts Corner for the World Final, it would be Skegness every time. But yeah, it's thankful to you guys for letting us arranged it, because with the stock rods, you've got St Day and Taunton, then your next track's County Beef.
Yeah.
Apart from your one at Bristol. So to have the opportunity to do another track, and it's not like it's Skegness is in the stock car world is the Hollywood stage, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit Hollywood. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's enjoying its time its day in the sun at the moment, most definitely, and all the work that Rob Speak and the crew do there. Yeah, it's just only ever striding forward. So when you got out onto the track and you had a bit of practice, and then when it come to racing, you enjoyed the actual track itself as well.
Yeah, the track was really good. It was kind of, for setup wise, it's like Taunton setup, but like St Day crossway, if you like, for the
St Day speed, I should imagine.
Yeah,
a bit faster than Taunton.
Yeah, the gear was quite hard, because obviously that was what another good thing about it was, because nobody had raced there before. No one knew what gearing to run, what setup to use. Obviously we've got a bit more of an idea now. So before I remember watching
tyre choice as well. I suppose nobody knew whether to run lots of tread, no tread, buff tyres, or
It was quite hard on tyres last year.
Okay.
Where we did it's a bit like Birmingham when we raced the Formula 2, where you just burn a tyre out in 2 laps.
It kind of is. Birmingham had a really bad reputation.
But yeah, it was hard on tyres, and no one, everyone like a level playing field, and you looked at my laps, and the lap times were relatively, from between like your Davy Philp and your John McAllisters and your Callum Oseys, who were always at the top of the lap time chart. Like we wasn't too far behind, It was, the size of the track and the distance between the grades. Like it did, the heats. I remember the heat. I was blue, and I felt I was third to the last corner, and I was following a new white guy, and I hit him into the last corner. I think he braked a bit early, and I got a bit excited going to corner. I don't know. And then McAllister and David Philp went around outside, and we got fifth. There was only then we could really catch us up, because the lap times were so even.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we closed up, it was a little bit different, but yeah. And I think even back then, I was crashed on the infield, and I think it was Jeremy Hatch won a heat, and he was battling with the top boys, and he actually come out ahead of, I think it was the world champion.
He did have a good run in one race.
Yeah, that was just, and just to see that was unreal. There's one of our guys, who's relatively, one of the, best of the rest, if you like.
Yeah, he's just finding his way into the Formula. He hasn't been in it that long.
It was really good, to everyone 11 player field. Might be different this year, might not be, so
we'll find out at the weekend.
Yeah.
Turning your thoughts back to home then, and the 2 tracks that you would race on regularly. Have you a preference between the 2?
Yeah, St Day every time. Yeah, don't like Taunton.
I sort of had a feeling you might say. Is that? I mean, Taunton is so flat, and I think that the last time the stock rods raced with us was at Sneathorpe, and it just brings it home that you really have to. It goes back to what you were saying. You really have to commit to trying to go around the outside.
Yeah,
it is possible because you see it, and I think that when that happens at Taunton, I mean, I don't have favourites. I'm not allowed to have favourites or whatever.
Yeah,
and even if it's someone I'm not particularly fond of, if they go around the outside, it is exciting, and I think that's certainly those of us in the box in race control. We always would champion someone that has a go around the outside, because it's not, it can come off and you advance a couple of places, or it could go horribly wrong and everyone runs up the inside of you and you lose 4 or 5 places in the space of 2 laps.
Yeah, that's it.
Must be soul destroying. But St Day, I guess is
St Day is just for
just
me
a total one-off.
Yeah, it was just St Day is I've always said when I was racing Formula 2 that St Day was my favourite track. Just the speed. It's an oddball track. You've got to know the track to do anything, Even we've had this, the F2 semi-finals down there, we've had the Stockholm World Championship, and some of the guys think, what is this place? It's a, if they had a choice not to come back, I think a few people wouldn't want to come back. They would love it or they hate it, you know?
Oh, very much. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times from people that come for for a sort of one-off visit. They either say to me, "Thank you very much. You won't see me there again because I don't like it."
Yeah.
Or alternatively, if it's someone from further afield, they'll just ask whether we can move it 200 miles closer to home. But
I think it's,
neither of those are possible.
for me, I love it. I've had quite a lot of success there at the Stock Rods, I've won finals, heats, I've won quite a few races there.
So your most successful track, yeah.
Yeah, it's just fast, and it's only half an hour down the road. It's just really fast, and it's rough and ready. And being a kid, when I was a young kid, like I started getting racing, I was like in '95, I think it was. About 7 of watching Dad race a stock rod of Sierra rods down there.
Yeah.
And I remember it being tyres and round the outside. I think that's before you took it in. Was it tyres on the outside?
Don't mention the tyres,
Yeah.
dear. Our early days of the early days of us running St Day in 2001 onwards. There was a lot of tyres. We had to spend a few quid to get rid of a lot of tyres. There were tyres everywhere.
Yeah.
And, they just seemed to keep appearing, no matter how many you got rid of. But yes, there were a lot of tyres there at one stage.
I remember just sat there watching Dad race, and Neil Truan and Nippy Neil Martin, or the stock was back then. John Tate, still around, still doing a little bit now. And I think he's with his car now, though. Watching those sorts of drivers race, and now I'm doing the stat class, at that track. What the tracks was always might be closing, but it's hanging on,
Yes. Yeah.
And for me, I've had great days down there, as again, for racing, as a family. I meet all my friends down there. It's like a hub, if you like, Really.
Sure, yeah. It comes back to one of the ongoing features that we continually trying to bang the drum when we're looking to St Day's future. It's a family and it's a community. It's a far more important role than just some cars going around in a circle. It's much more than that. So much more.
It's race as a whole. For me, all my friends race. I haven't got many friends outside of racing. I know I could leave there on I could get on and go St Day and watch the races. There's no stop on to watch the bangers or the Formula 2s.
Yep.
And I'll go down and I'll know 50
Lots
people.
of people there, yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot more than just a track to us. So yeah, we love it.
Cool. Well, that's great, and that leads us to the great note to leave on in terms of looking ahead and keeping our fingers crossed for St Day's future.
Yeah.
And short term, we wish you the best of luck for your trip to Skegness. I hope. I don't think the weather's going. There's no way the weather can be anything like as hot as it was last year.
No, that was warm.
That really was warm.
Yeah.
But if we have some pleasant weather, hopefully we'll have a pleasant weekend. So great stuff, Simon. Thanks very much for your time today.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks again to Simon for those tales of combining racing with family life, and for singing the praises of stock rods, where the numbers continue to flourish. After the Autospeed on Tour excursion to Skegness, we will be turning our attention to the third of 3 bank holiday weekends in May, when next week's episode previews the latest race meetings at St Day and Smeathart.
If you've enjoyed Autospeed Podcast, home of stock car and banger racing in the southwest, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future podcasts.